So about 10 years ago, I'm traveling in Italy with my husband, Zach, and my 24-year-old son, Alec. And we're on vacation and we're having a wonderful time. And I love traveling with Zach because he's the type of person that he gets excited about everything. He's like, look at that, that's amazing. Or that was the best glass of wine I've ever had in my entire life. And it's just fun to see him enjoy himself so much. And I'm really happy to be with Alec too, because he was living in New York at the time. I didn't get to see him. And here we were in Italy enjoying ourselves on vacation. It was really special. And, we are in Tuscany and these beautiful farmhouses, old farmhouses and village, sipping on Chianti and Merlot. And then we travel up the Italian Riviera Coast to swim in the turquoise waters of the Ligurian Sea. And this trip is just a beautiful combination of sightseeing and wine tasting, excellent homemade pasta, sun, and sand. And we're having a wonderful time. And the trip is coming to a close, but I'm still excited because we're going to go to the 35th wedding anniversary of my husband's Italian cousin, Vicky. And Vicky's just lovely. She is warm and she's generous and also happens to have a home in Santa Margherita, which is in the picturesque foothills of Portofino. And so we're excited to go to the party, and she tells us that she actually had hired the best chef in all of Milan for the party. So we're excited to see her, and we're excited about the food. So Zach is driving us up the day of the party up these narrow and windy hills leading up and up and up Santa Margherita to almost the top elevation. We get to Vicky's house, and it's a backyard party. So we push open the gate, and the three of us gasp. Because right in front of us is the most stunning and intimate view of the Mediterranean coastline stretching from Cinque Terre all the way to Portofino. It's just gorgeous. And then I just start looking around at the guests. And, they're drop dead gorgeous too. They're toned and they're tan and tall, and there's lots of long, straight, shiny, gorgeous hair, brilliant white teeth, and everyone is decked out in Versace and Prada and Gucci. And a waiter comes by and he hands me a glass of Dom Perignon champagne and a crudité, and I shove that in my mouth and I down the champagne because I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, this is the worst. Now, I need to tell you a little something about me, and that is, under certain circumstances, I suffer from terrible social anxiety. And those circumstances are when I'm around people that I perceive as better than me in a number of ways. And that might be more attractive, more sophisticated, more chic, wealthier, smarter, you name it. Vicky's guess. I forgot to mention that, they're so engaged in conversation with each other. I mean, they're Italian, so they're passionately engaged in conversation with each other. And they're, with their Rolex watches and their diamond bracelets, and they're all multilingual. So in one conversation, you're going to hear Italian, you're going to hear English, Spanish, French, with a little bit of Hebrew and Arabic thrown in. And here I am, standing there in my TJ Maxx non-designer pantsuit, and I only speak English. I'm sorry. I'm a true American. So I am starting to shut down. I'm starting to feel a lot of anxiety, really anxious. I'm feeling like, what am I going to talk with these people about? And, I'm just very triggered. I get very triggered, and it's hard to recover from that. And all of a sudden, Alec, he taps me on the shoulder and goes, Mom, look over there. And he points to these marble banquet tables that are lined with food. And on one of them, there is a whole fish on the table. And he says, Mom, that's a whole tuna. They're carving sushi from an entire tuna. I mean, that's worth like $40,000. And I'm just thinking, we are just completely out of our league here, I mean, we're not poor by any stretch of imagination. We have cars, we have jobs, We have a house. We're on vacation. We're traveling in Italy on vacation. But we are completely out of our league with Vicky and her friends, who are the financial elite of Milan, and all summer in Santa Margherita. And I'm just spiraling down and down. But Zach returns with like 3 glasses of Pinot Grigio, and I down mine pretty quickly, and I grab Alex and I down his, and I'm starting to feel a little calmer, looking forward to the food. And Zach says, let's go find Vicky, grab our plates of food, see where we're sitting, and, go sit down. So we go to the banquet table and taking some sushi, lobster salad, julienne vegetables, other salad, and my plate is overflowing with food, overflowing. And Vicky had pointed us toward the back of her backyard, kind of near the pool. And as we're walking over there, my husband explains, he goes, "Oh my God, we're sitting with Mr. Recanati." So who's Mr. Recanati? Well, Mr. Recanati is a famous vintner, and his family grows wines, and my husband had grown up, his family loved this person's wines and knew all about him and was very excited. And I'm going to be sitting next to him, and he's probably the most renowned person in the entire party. And I'm looking at him, and he's quite distinguished looking, a little heavy set with a white linen suit. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I going to talk to him about? I mean, I know nothing from wines. So we're walking over to the table, and I've got my plate of food, and we're walking, and then I think, okay, I'm going to ask him a good wine pairing to go with the lobster salad. And so I'm looking at him, maintaining eye contact. I want him to think I'm interested in him, and I'm stepping around him to get to my seat, and I notice all of a sudden there's no earth under my foot. And in a flash, I'm thigh high in water holding a plate of gourmet delicacies. And my first thought was, oh no, not again. No, this was not the first time, but the second time that I had accidentally fallen into a pool at a fancy backyard party. And the first time it happened 12 years prior, when my son was going into middle school, and someone from, one of the parents, from the class invited the parents and some kids for a evening party to get to know each other. And I'm standing at a cocktail table eating a brownie, and I shift my weight and I find myself in the pool. And luckily my son wasn't at that party, but he certainly heard about it from his friends afterwards. And while the Italians don't know this little fun fact about my life, my husband, an absolutely mortified son, who is probably thinking to himself, Jesus Christ, Mom, again? They are very well aware that this was the second time I had fallen into the pool. But the funny thing is that I actually learned a lot about how to handle this situation from the time before. And actually both times I stuck that landing. I had some early gymnastic training. I mean, I'm no Simone Biles, but I stuck that landing. Proud of that. And, with my plate of food. And I also knew that people were looking at me and probably talking about me, laughing at me, but that I really shouldn't make a fuss, and as gracefully as possible, just walk out of that pool. So I channel Venus de Milo and also Charlize Theron from the Dior commercial, and I'm walking out of that pool like a goddess. J'adore. And I return to my seat, and I want to bury my head in the ceviche. Okay. So all of a sudden, I hear this woman say, "Excuse me," and I'm thinking, please don't humiliate me any further. And she says, "Wow, that was really funny, but you handled it with such poise." And then she goes on to share with me, first of all, she was also gorgeous. She looked like Gwyneth Paltrow, and she had a French blonde twist. And she goes on to share with me that she was also so elegantly dressed. She shared with me that she had recently been at a wedding and tripped over her high heels, ended up falling and splitting the seam of her crotch. and had to look for safety pins the whole night. And then another gentleman had shared that he'd embarrassed himself many, many times by asking women in their 30s if they were pregnant. And then another gentleman who looked like a younger, well, like Burt Lancaster, he was around my age, and he said, well, he's embarrassed himself many times, and his adult children, by farting in public. Done that. Anyways, we basically, everyone around the table starts sharing their most embarrassing moments. And we're actually laughing and joking, and I have a much better time than I would have ever imagined. And when I go home that evening, I say to Zach, I said, you know, you and everybody else, you were so enamored with Mr. Recanati, but at Vicky's party, I was the one that made the biggest splash. Thank you.